Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. About 2 weeks ago, I was giving a presentation to some people about workspaces, Yarn, NPM workspaces. Not what this video is about. Hold on a second. And before making my presentation, I went to my usual go-to, a Markdown presentation tool. You've seen them probably in the ecosystem. You write your slideshows in Markdown, essentially. And I'm a developer. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. So I like to do developer things. So I always try to go to the Markdown presentation tool route. And every time I do, I'm reminded why I hate them so much. So this video is unabashedly a rant about why I am just completely done with Markdown presentation tools. Let me just put a disclaimer up front. I wish the authors of these presentation tools no ill will. I think what they've done is awesome, but it's me more raging against the concept of it, less so the people that wrote these tools, because I think the idea itself is unfortunately flawed, which has no impact on the people that have actually contributed their free time and focus on these tools. So no ill will to them. I still hate these tools a whole lot. First things first, Markdown slide tools are great for simple presentations. I'm not going to deny that. They are actually really awesome if you have a quick little slideshow that you want to put together. I'm going to use MDX decks as an example. I actually have a previous video all about MDX deck where I actually am excited about it. I'm not anymore, but that's fine. I can change, right? But when you look at actually MDX deck, you look at, let's look at, what's the thing? I don't know, steps. We'll look at an example deck here. Let's look at raw, it's MDX deck. It's pretty simple, right? Each slide's separated by some dashes. You can put HTML wherever you want in there, React components, and it's cool and it's fine. But after a certain point, you're gonna want to kind of move things around on the screen, and that's when I think Markdown presentation tools largely just fall apart. By their nature, there's no WYSIWYG. You can't drag and drop where you want things to go, like other more professional tools like Keynote, but they are purposely plain because they're all written in code, which is fine. That's the point. I get it. But the problem is, as soon as you want to drop down to using layouts and actually have things be customized a little bit more beyond what's default in there, you run into all these weird Markdown supersets. So I have this gist that I found. I think I just Googled Markdown slide decks and I found this. I'm gonna go to these sections. And if I go to MDX decks, which I think is a fine place to start, examples, is there a layout? Layouts. So the way you do layouts with MDX deck is you can use these components that are provided by MDX decks out of the box, which is fine. That's easy. You got to know what they are, how they work, how to use the API. Where's the API documentation for here? Again, I'm not trying to like, crap on the author here. I'm trying to crap on like the limitations of Markdown itself as a presentation tool. I guess the docs are on the page. I don't know. I can't find the docs, which is, there we go. Split layouts. Here's some layouts. You can see it. I'm sure there's an example to see it. Fine. MDX deck. Let's go to Remark, which I actually think is one of the most, I was looking at it, a very mature framework that I actually really enjoyed. You go to the wiki and you go to formatting page to see how to actually like change how things work. And you have these weird like front matter-esque tags at the top of the at the top of the slide. So left aligned text, center, these dot things. This isn't Markdown. This is a weird superset that's specific just to Remark. Is there an example here? Here we go. Here's the example. So like here's, this seems to be a standard convention across all Markdown tools. But then you also have this. So you have dot left column brackets for two headlines, dot right with the stuff inside of it. So that's the way that Remark does it. And then you go to like Spectacle, which is a very big, popular one as well. You look at examples for, let's do Markdown. Where's slides? Let's go to raw. Do I have any layout things here? Nope, nothing about layout in this example here. Is there an example to do layout somewhere else? So there's an API references, and then I guess you're supposed to use, the thing is, Spectacle is built for React, and Markdown's kind of an afterthought. Like Markdown doesn't really seem to be that well maintained as far as I can tell. It's kind of like not the main purpose of it, which is fine, like have a thing and stick to it, but it definitely makes things a little more confusing to figure out how things work. This is slide.mdx. You can import components. Again, no layout things in here except for components. Okay, that's fine. But the point here is that if you want to take the knowledge you've learned on how to do things correctly with Remark, for example, you can't really apply that to any other tool. Like it's not going to work with MDX deck. It's not going to work with Spectacle. Each one's individual. Again, a limitation of Markdown. Like there's nothing you can do. You have to build some things into it to be able to customize how your layout's supposed to be. But then that's just why Markdown presentation tools are bad. Also, I think that, where's MDX deck again? MDX deck, I love MDX deck. I really do. I think it's great. I think that is kind of weird to me is that like you kind of are stuck using the built-in themes that are there. You can definitely like customize the themes if you want. There's theming. Like there's a whole way to theme that, but then why would you want to do that when you're just trying to make a presentation? I mean, you could. There's a lot of cool built-in themes. Like that's great that's provided. But like at a certain point, you'll easily be able to pick out that this is an MDX deck presentation, which I personally don't like. I like having my things be custom and sweet and a snowflake, one of a kind. If you don't care, then this is not really a point that matters to you, but it's something that I care about. But customizing the theme itself, you're going to drop down into CSS and stuff, which you might enjoy, but like, I mean, like doing stuff like this is pretty, the closest to good as I'll find, but it's very much coding, and you're spending a lot of time just theming things out rather than just writing your presentation. And that's the next point is that there is a high tendency to Yakshave when you're using a Markdown as a presentation tool. If you want to customize the style of H1, you can do that. You can do block quote. Then it's also like the question of how do you install it? Do you install it globally? So getting started, you can install it as the dependency here. You could also, I think, use it as like a Gatsby plugin to import it in an application. Remark, there's like 3 ways to use it as well. You can use it embedded in HTML file, remote, or a single page. Formidable is the docs, I did not spend enough time to learn it. I'm sure once you learn it, it's fine. But like there's, on the basic concepts page, there's the Markdown example, Markdown X example, Markdown XX plus Babel example. Like I don't know what I should be using there. And all of them have different spectacle. Like why are these different? I don't know. I'm probably stupid and don't understand it, which is fine. But I've spent all this time trying to figure out what I should be using. And again, not writing my presentation, which is a great way to procrastinate, but also then gives me a lot of stress when the presentation's due the next day. Also, I personally have been burned trying to rerun a presentation I've made with one of these tools a couple of months later, where dependencies start changing and there's some transitive dependency that then makes something else not work. And I don't have a high level of confidence that coming back in a year, I'll still be able to run my presentation. And that is scary to me, that I might have one shot to do the presentation and then hope that I can recreate it in the future, which is not what I want to do. That's scary. And then also, last but not least, and I say this with all loving respect and understanding about how hard it is to run an open source project, these open source tools developed freely with people's own free time. I think only 2 are actually backed by a company, actually pay people to work on it. But by and large, most of these aren't really that well maintained, which means that you could consider them done, or you could consider them abandoned and not really reliable that they're going to work. This deck.js thing, which I have no idea about, last commit's 2015, which isn't to say that last commit is the only way to see the health of a project, but it's certainly one way. You look at the org, the last update's 2016, this is 2021. MDX deck, there was a dependabot merge 4 days ago, which is awesome. But if I go to the history here, a lot of dependbots, there's been no real active feature work since Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I guess March. So almost a year ago from when I'm recording this video. And this is just a docs change. And again, I love Brent Jackson. I've met him. He's awesome. I understand that this isn't really a top priority thing. It's impossible to make one thing work for everyone's use cases, and open source is a thankless job. But in terms of my comfort and confidence in using a tool that's not maintained, it's not something that I want to do. So two decisions that are not really being matched. Remark, what's Remark's status here? We added a fave icon and some first names. So it's been over a year. Formidable is actually the most well-maintained one. They're actively working on it. 7.0 was released. If I go to releases, view newer tags. Yeah, yesterday, like it's actively maintained. I honestly find the docs on this on Spectacle to be very confusing. That's just me. Also, I don't want to write a Spectacle's best for React based. I want Markdown based, which is not really its cup of tea. So the thing that I always come down to is like, what do I use then instead? If I'm not going to use Markdown presentation tools, and I'm going to go to the Steve Jobs favorite of Keynote. It's great. It just works. You can move things around easily. They have built-in themes that you can easily customize and see how they happen right away. It has WYSIWYG. It is maintained because Apple's a big company with, you know, a healthy amount of money in their bank to support it. It's just, and I always know it's going to work when I come back to it in a couple months' time. Like I can rely on that. The two big things that it doesn't have that Markdown does is the flexibility that Markdown provides. Like you can easily, if you want to change the entire slideshow in a Markdown presentation, you can easily go through that text file and just change where things are. Keynote, that's a little bit harder because each slide is kind of its own sandbox and it's harder to apply things globally, especially with like copy changes, at least that I know of. And then two, the code support in Keynote's not the best. It's weird. You can copy and paste stuff from VS Code and all the stylings get applied. That's a way to kind of cheat it. But if you want to do like a live code example in Keynote, you can't. It's impossible. It doesn't work. But you can always drop down into the browser, do that if you want to, or figure out some workarounds, or just record a movie and embed that. Try embedding a movie in a Markdown tool. You're going to have to like use you'll probably have to use MDX, make a video component or the video tag, find the file in the file system and reference it, put it into the page. Keynote, you drag and drop and you're done. Honestly, the worst thing about Keynote is that you have no excuse for actually writing your presentation, which is what always happens to me. So I will go to Keynote. I played around with Google Slides in the past too. It's fine, but browser is still limited. You don't really get all of the ease that comes with Keynote. So for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be writing my presentations in Keynote. For cheap one-offs, I'll probably use MDX Deck just to spin up a quick thing that you can just kind of thumb through. But anything more involved with that, with images, videos, animations, Keynote is the thing for me. So that's my rant. Hopefully you enjoyed me getting angry that I couldn't procrastinate anymore and had to just use Keynote to write my slideshow. The presentation I was on ui.dev, in case you want to check it out. I think you have to become a member to see it. But I'm over here, right here, Divide and Conquer with workspaces, a lot of fun to give. I'm curious what your experiences are with Markdown presentation tools. Do you like them? Have you had success? Do you think my points are valid, or are you gonna ish all over them too? Let me know. But until then, I'll see you again next week with a brand new video. Till then, stay happy, stay good.